Jay here from Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith, and this is a bit of tactical analysis of Manchester United's 3-0 win away at Southampton. We're going to be going into it, looking at the goals, looking at the major incidents, looking at some of the players as well, and looking just how Ten Hag defeated Russell Martin's team. A bit more nuanced and insightful than just our review, which is all great, the initial reaction that we always do, but this is a little bit more insightful, a little bit more in depth. But we still need you to get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think. We want to hear from you guys as well. And if you're not doing already, make sure you are hitting that like button as well. Please, Joseph, should we start from the beginning?
Yeah. Well, before that, let's get into some stats.
Okay, give me some stats then.
Overall stats of the game, because United dominated the game, and people might not want to admit that, but you can see here, I mean, let's just look at, you can ignore some of the XG stuff, let's look at the stuff that people care about. Total shots on target, there you can see on the right hand side. 20 shots, 10 on target, and if you compare that to Southampton, 6 and just 4 on target as well. Big chances, obviously they had 3 to United's 4, but one of those was that penalty, which of course turned the entire game. But I just think the fact that we only conceded 6 shots in this game is something that is so different to recent seasons. It's incredible. The number of times United conceded 6 or fewer shots last season, Jay, guess how many?
6 or fewer?
Yeah, in the entirety of the last Premier League season, guess how many times?
10.
None.
None?
None. The fewest amount of shots we conceded at any time last season was 7. So this is the least shots we've conceded in over a year in the Premier League.
That's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But also, it's good for today.
No, it is. It is.
Admittedly,
I'll give you that one.
A couple of those shots were big chances. Onana made a very good save, and obviously the penalty. But I know you can't take the penalty away, and it might be slightly disingenuous to do that. But if we look at this here, so obviously the overall expected goals, and this is very data heavy on the right hand side. We'll just do it quickly. Non-penalty XG there. They made 0.3 of a goal without that penalty.
Right, okay.
And of course you have to include the penalty. If we'd have gone 1-0 down, things would have been very different. But that shows you that in open play, United barely conceded any chances whatsoever.
Okay.
And that's massive. That's such a big difference to last season, isn't it? Like,
yeah, of course it is.
To last year, where it's 20 shots a game every week, 0.3 XG for the, not including the penalty, the stuff that they actually created in open play against Manchester United, that's not a lot. That's very good from United.
The thing is, right, sometimes that stat about the amount of shots we conceded last season doesn't tell you the full story. Because I remember the game at Anfield where we conceded something like 20-odd shots, it might even been 30, but there was no clear-cut chances for Liverpool. It was all shooting from 20 yards out or whatever. But just as a fan, watching your team concede shot after shot is horrible.
Yeah.
Because you just sat there watching the opposition attack, which isn't what you want to do. So from that point of view, it's much more enjoyable, if I can just talk about that for a second, to see us actually controlling the game for the majority of it, which we did, which I know you're going to get into a little bit more. Yeah,
exactly. Like United actually just dominated the game. They didn't have a shot after that penalty. Let's go through the goals so we can go through some of these, have a look at some of the footage and break it down. So we see here the start of United's first goal. De Ligt there lining up, as you'd expect. They've got a bank of 3 marking him, and from there basically De Ligt completely gets away from his man. So you can see here as the ball is about to come in, you can see De Ligt there just in the gap between about 3 different players there. Yeah. So he's got men around him, but he's already found a bit of space there. And the ball from Bruno Fernandes is absolutely exceptional. And when you see, obviously, you're trying to cross the ball in, he's looking for this gap here, is Bruno. That's where he wants to land the ball, in that little area where the goalkeeper can't really come and get it. He's relying on his defenders. And the ball, as we see, is absolutely pitch perfect. It lands on the 6-yard line. You see there De Ligt getting his head on the ball. And then obviously from there putting the ball in the back of the net. Really good header. But I just think the ball from Bruno is brilliant. The run from De Ligt is very good. And then the header at the end of it is like, only really Casemiro's been doing that for United over the last sort of 2 years. Do you know, a genuine threat from set pieces? I saw a stat before, and I don't know if it's true, if it was just Twitter trolling, but it was goals by the age of 24. And De Ligt has got something like 29. And Pedro Neto's got 21. Like Chelsea just signed him for what, 65 million quid? And I believe that De Ligt, I know obviously he's been playing at a high level for longer, but he can be a threat in terms of his goal scoring. Is it 28?
Yeah, he's got 28 goals.
Yeah.
He's counting today's goal as well. So not bad for a defender.
It's not bad for a 24-year-old, you know, and it's something that United have needed because Harry Maguire is brilliant at winning headers, but for some reason he can't put the ball in the back of the net.
He doesn't score goals, does he, Harry Maguire? Like, let's have it right. He just doesn't, and he wins so many headers. Yeah, it is a little quirk of his. So yeah, that was good because, like you said, we'd been under a little bit of pressure that first half hour. They'd had a penalty. We mentioned, I think Scotty mentioned it on a watch along, where against Liverpool, Trent Alexander-Arnold had that goal disallowed, and it seemed to galvanise Liverpool and rattle us. It's not like we went, we've had a let-off there, let's get at him. It seemed to really get under our skin and sort of knock us off our game, if you will. This was a bit different this time. We saved that penalty, and that seemed to get us going. And then you get a goal not long after that with the well-worked, set piece, because you were taking a mick out of me, because when it was a short corner, I was like, who's that to? Yeah. And then it was crossed to De Ligt, who scored.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, United completely controlled the game after that went in, like we said before, and in a way that we've not really done for a while. And I don't think we really did at all last season. Like I said, 6 goals conceded is less than we conceded at any time last year, or fewer than we conceded at any time last year in any game in the Premier League, which is incredible.
Yeah, it really is.
If we move on to the second goal, you see Rashford, and there's less to analyse here because it is very much Rashford finds himself in space, obviously at the edge of the box there, and from there he does what Rashford does, which when he's at his best, make a little bit of space for himself there, and you can just see the little corridor there, can't you?
Yeah.
Like that gap between those players that you see for Southampton there. Again, it's the spaces between the defenders that's killed them. But if you look, I think that's De Ligt just behind their man there, who's making sure that their player can't fill that gap in because they believe in De Ligt. So it's sort of, again, holding his run, being in the right place, De Ligt has allowed that space for Rashford's shot, and then from there, obviously, he whips it in, and it goes in at the back post, and the ball finds its way in. And it's just classic Rashford, really, but we haven't been seeing that from Rashford, getting the ball out of his feet and just finding the corner. It doesn't always have to be a top corner. It doesn't always have to be an absolute worldie. Sort of hooking it and hitting the post as it goes in, that's going to get you a goal more often than not. And I just think it's good to see Rashford doing sort of slightly more basic things than having to think that he's got to skin everyone, go past people, knock it 1-2s in the box. So sometimes get the ball out of your feet and smack it. Like, he's really good at that. And I feel like at times he doesn't trust his confidence, or he doesn't have the confidence to trust himself in those areas, when actually he can be doing more to just get the ball in and score. Do you know what I mean? It's not as hard as he sort of almost makes it look at times. I just think it was really, really good play there from Marcus Rashford.
No, 100%. A couple of comments as well. Joe James John says Maguire was good at getting his head on the ball but not scoring.
Yeah. Weirdly. He's bizarrely good.
Trolley Tramp says, no, De Ligt blocks off the keeper's sight, otherwise it's an easy gather from the keeper. I know he blocks off his sight a little bit there, and I like the way De Ligt didn't stick his leg out because he might have been tempted to. He just stays there and lets the ball go around him, but I don't know if it's an easy gather. I think it's a decent finish, to be honest with you.
It's right in the bottom corner. Yeah. It's not easy, whichever way you look at it. And I want to get into some sort of particular players. We'll talk about Mazraoui and Xerxes in a minute. But before that, the third goal as well, obviously, and this is a bit of a theme. So the position we find ourselves in here for this third goal is Dalot overlapping on the right-hand side, obviously, pulling the ball back, and you can see Garnacho waiting in the middle. Again, pretty simple first-time finish. The finish itself wasn't simple, but the position he finds himself in, he's going to hit it first time. Ramsdale's going the wrong way. He's sort of wrong-footed, and the ball finds itself in the roof of the net near side. But this was a pattern that we saw over and over again, and Mazraoui was a big part of that before we saw the goal. And I think if we can just get that up here, not here, where are we? I think it's a little bit further back.
It is good to see, though, just while you're looking at the fact that it's almost, I almost forgot myself, that Xerxes, Rashford, Garnacho and Diallo have all scored in the Premier League this season. Yeah. So we have had goals from all our attackers, because obviously Rasmus Højlund's not kicked a ball yet because he's been injured, which you want to see. If you wanted, if I wanted anyone to score the last goal, it would be Garnacho. I want him to get off the mark, which he did. We all wanted Marcus to score because we were praying for it. Xerxes got off the mark against Fulham, and Diallo got the goal against Brighton as well. So whilst they've not exactly been prolific, it's only one goal each, but they've scored. They've got off the mark, and sometimes that can be a bit of a monkey on your back, can't it? Because it's like, I need to get a goal. I haven't got a goal yet. Do you know what I mean? It can play in your mind as an attacker, where they've all got a Premier League goal now, and hopefully they can all build on that, because there's a talented forward line there. We just need to see him scoring more frequently.
Yeah, and you talk about talented forward line. They're helped massively by the players around him, because Ahmad today I thought was excellent. But one of the main reasons he was so good, not just his touch and the fact that he himself had a very good game, but Mazraoui behind him was brilliant. And we can see this is second half. We've got other examples coming up as well of Mazraoui calling for the ball there in the foreground. You see him there, pointing in front of him to get that ball forward.
Yeah.
He's not pointing for himself there. He's actually pointing for that ball to be played to Ahmad, which he does. Right. So that's Christian Eriksen playing the ball out to Ahmad, and Mazraoui is now making that run. And we saw Dalot where he ends up when he puts the ball in for that Garnacho third goal. We now see a similar thing here. So United, again, we're making these little mini counter-attacks. We've got a 4-on-4 here, basically. And if you want to include Rashford in there, it's actually a 5-on-4. So you've got all the 5 United players attacking the 4 Brentford backline players, which again...
Southampton, but I know what you mean.
Sorry, Southampton, it's the kit. They've got 4 players back and we've got a 5-on-4. The same position we found ourselves in against Liverpool when they scored a couple of their goals. It's the position you're trying to force all the time. And the fact that, you've got Mazraoui overlapping and coming in, you see there again, this is where Dalot was later on in the game. This is a position that we made quite a lot for ourselves, which is the great point about having fullbacks on the side that their strong foot is. You've got Mazraoui, who's a right footer, overlapping Ahmad. And there you can see, obviously, in the end, he finds himself in this position, which is brilliant. And he should either square the ball back, which is an obvious pass there to Ahmad, or he should go toward the back post and hope that Xerxes can either slide the ball in or the ball finds itself in, just from the pass or the cross itself. Instead, I don't know if he sliced it, but you can see there he sort of knocked it toward the near post instead, which ended up not being anything. But this position here is so dangerous. That position there, if you can orchestrate your players being in that position half a dozen times a game, you're going to get at least 1 goal out of it. Yeah. And Rashford found himself in that position as well, and Ramsdale saved the shot. Mazraoui found himself in it. Dalot found himself in it, and it took to the 96th minute. But that position, that overlap, forced a goal in the end, and it's for Garnacho. Xerxes could have got a goal from that same position, or the ball was played to him from that position, and he took too long on it, and it ended up hitting the defender. But if you get into that position, like I said, half a dozen times, you're going to get a goal a game from it. And that's what United will repeat, and that's why I'm excited and encouraged, because the tactics that we're seeing were repeated, and the repetition of those tactics is what led to that third goal. Putting crosses into the box is great, and you need to be able to score from that as well. It's no coincidence that City and Arsenal top the set-piece goal-scoring charts every season. Like, those goals do count as much as any other. But if you can reliably and repeatably get into your opponent's final third with men unmarked, and then you can bring that ball in, let's say again, go back to that third goal. If you can do that consistently, get yourself in that position, you're going to win games. Yeah. And this is how United are actually implementing their tactics. When people say Ten Hag doesn't have any tactics, look how many times we did that today. Yeah. That's not an accident. That's not just go out there and have fun. That's a repeatable thing. And how many times did we concede that kind of goal last season? Yeah. Overlapping ball back to the penalty spot or thereabouts. It
was like a carbon copy almost every week, wasn't it? Yeah. We saw it in so many games. Like you were always pointing out that one overlapping fullback, cut back, and they'd score. And we saw it in Europe, we saw it in the Premier League. It was so frustrating to see how we weren't learning from that mistake. And obviously on the flip side today, we've gone and we've scored goals like that. And it's pleasing as well because people can be dismissive and you can say it's only Southampton, it's a team in 19th, they haven't picked up a point all season, they only got promoted by the playoffs last season, so you expect them to struggle. We should be taking a game to them. We should be able to do what we did, but we weren't doing that last season. You look at some of the teams that were near the bottom last season. You look at, I know we had some wins, but the Luton game we were hanging on. Yeah, we got away with that one. It wasn't a comfortable win. Burnley.
How many wins were comfortable last season?
No, that's what I mean. Burnley was another one, and these are teams that are sort of similar levels to where Southampton are now. And that was one where, okay, we got a win, but you had to sort of struggle for it. And like you said, there wasn't really any comfortable wins last season. And even, you look at the red card or whatever, that came when we were already 2-0 up in the second half. And they weren't offering much anyway.
They hadn't had a shot for 40 minutes when that red card came.
I don't think it wasn't as though that was a turning point. Was it?
Absolutely not. A player that did, and obviously, I've looked through the comments as well, but a player that really pulled his weight in the game today, despite not bringing a goal, and he should have scored, is Joshua Xerxes.
Yeah, he was great today.
We don't need to dwell on the misses because we've seen him. It's kind of becoming a bit of a thing. I'm so glad he scored in that first game because that's probably the hardest chance he's had, and he scored it. And since then, he's pretty much missed every one. But one thing that Joshua Xerxes does really well is link the play together. And you can see here, obviously, this is Xerxes on the left. I'll put a circle around him, we know who he is, but, it's pretty clear who he is. he's linking the play there. So he's in a position now where he's being closed down from the opposition, and he has to make a decision. Does he go maybe out to Dallo? Does he play the ball that way? Does he spin in? Does he just go back to Mainu? What does he do? Maybe he could even pop it off back to Mazraoui there at the top of the screen. Instead, what he does, he takes an absolutely brilliant first touch that nutmegs the opposition player, and now he's got all the space in the world to do what he wants. And again, he could go out and play it out to Mazraoui on the right hand side. He could sort of dribble the ball himself, but instead he does the perfect thing, which is playing a quick ball into Amad, who again has held his line, has held the space out on the right hand side, and from there now you've got a sort of, I think it was a 2-on-3 for Man United that almost led to a very good chance. But that ball out there from Xerxes up to Amad is brilliant. And the fact that his first instinct is, I'm going to play the ball forward. I'm not going to try and run with it. I'm not going to try and make it all about myself. I'm not going to try and get to their defence and then make a decision and smack it from 20 yards. He's keen to bring other players into the pitch and into the game. And that's something that United have lacked massively. I love Højlund, and I think he's a very good striker. And to be fair, what I'm about to say isn't really criticism of him. It's criticism of those around him. But for too long, we've had attackers who just want to score.
Yeah.
And that's a great trait to have, but not when you ain't got anyone who's going to give it to him.
No.
Like, in the past, if Bruno Fernandes don't get an assist, no one does.
Yeah.
You've got Rashford, who, again, 30 goals in a season, brilliant. He wants to score for himself. Garnacho, he's a very good player, very talented. He wants to score for himself. He's more of that Cristiano Ronaldo style, like Rashford is. You've got Højlund, who's a bit of a battering ram, kind of Haaland-esque kind of player. Not really, but, you know, if we're looking at similarities. You switch them out for Amad and Xerxes, and you've got players who can make chances for each other. And it's not a coincidence today. United had 20 shots, 10 on target, had an XG of a 2.5, and obviously got slightly on the lucky side of that with the 3 goals scored. But we missed some good chances as well. And United have missed more big chances than anyone else in the Premier League going into this week. And we're finally sort of starting to rectify that because we're repeating these patterns against the admittedly beatable Southampton.
I'm just going to get in some of the comments. Loads of people comment the fact that Forest are winning 1-0 at Anfield.
Fantastic.
Let's hope that stays. I hope the referee blows his whistle right now. Dale Gibson says the right-hand side playing well will also help Rashford because the opposition can't just mark him out the game like they could when we were essentially playing with 10 men with Anthony there. Rafa D says, I don't ever want to see Amad on the bench again. He's bloody brilliant. Elite Baller says, will Casemiro get any credit for the through ball to Delo, I wonder?
It was a brilliant pass, but it was a really good pass. And the fact that we are making those runs and spreading the play to the point where he made one, Mazraoui made a couple, I think Eriksen made one as well. Those balls through the lines, Amad made a couple as well. We were creating chances a lot in this game. And it took a little bit, and the first 30 minutes was a hell of a lot of pressure from Southampton. And it's a shame that it took them getting a penalty for us to get our act together. But we did get our act together in a way that we haven't done for ages.
No.
We haven't been that good. And not even just good as in like great movement, pass, but just completely shut them off. No shots at all after that penalty.
Do you know what? You're right. And you've got to enjoy the victories, man. There's no point in just brushing over them. Harley Sutherland, welcome to the Academy. A few comments. I'm going to get into some of the comments. Loads of great comments. Keep them coming. Also, as well, Mark says, cheers to the lads producing as much high-quality content consistently every week. Best fan channel on YouTube.
Thank you.
I couldn't agree more. Brian Casey says, good to see Rashford scoring, getting a bit of confidence that he sorely needs. Hopefully, he can kick on now. Mechanical Tiger says, are you guys going to go through the City charges? I know, different topic. That'll be a different
We've done that video,
topic.
though. If you want to look at every single one of the, well, what was 115 is now 130 charges. Stephen Arson detailed every single one of them. We should probably be...
He just read them out, I think. Yeah, so you want to go and check that out, you can do. And obviously, if there's any movement on there, any update, we will do. David Griffith says, Paddock boys and Steve have been saying Casemiro would play better farther up the pitch. That through ball and his play seemed to support that. We saw that, didn't we, a little bit in the Fulham game, we saw it in the Charity Shield as well. And I think Gary Neville and Roy Keane and all them lot was talking about on the overlap, saying maybe Casemiro, you can't trust him perhaps deeper, but further up the pitch, you can see he can pick out a pass, he can get his head on things, he can create. Can he be used a bit more further up? We'll have to wait and see whether that becomes a thing.
It's hard though with that, isn't it? Because it might be better going forward than he is defensively, but we need someone to play defensively. So, like, is he better than Bruno? And people are saying this about Xerxes, like, is Xerxes a 10 and you play in behind Højlund? Xerxes good at, the ball hits him and he brings other people in. He's not the one getting it and sort of turning and bringing others in. He's good facing back towards his own goal and bringing other people in. I don't think he can do what Bruno does in terms of those balls around the edge of the 18-yard box. I
wouldn't start him over. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think if you are going to use him still, could that be an option, using him further up the pitch? I still think he's the backup to your guy. I know he wasn't today, but I still think if your guy needs a rest or needs to swap out, and you need someone to come in as DM, I still think Casemiro's that guy, but others may disagree.
You could give Mainu a rest and play Ugarte and Casemiro.
Yeah, Mainu needs a rest. That's true.
Yeah.
Red Baron says now he said Liverpool are losing, they will win now.
Yeah, they will win.
I think they will. I mean, City were losing at one point, and they soon turned it around. Some bloke called Erling Haaland, but we don't need to worry about that. The main thing to worry about is the fact that Manchester United have won 3-0 at Southampton. Joseph, I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
It's a new part we're going to do. After every game, we're going to have obviously the initial reaction where you'll hear from myself and Joe on the live, and we get you guys involved in that. You'll also have the reaction from the likes of Stephen Howson and McCullough and those guys as well. And then a little bit later on, we'll do some analysis where we'll go through the goals, we'll go through the major talking points, and we'll add a little bit more than just our initial reaction. So big thank you to Joe Smith. Go and check him out at Sloppy Joe's. You know where to find me. Don't forget, if you're not doing, check out the other videos and hit like, share and subscribe. This has been the analysis of Manchester United's 3-0 win away at St Mary's. Thanks for watching.